Hello, boys and girls. Mr. Fleming here. We are going to move on to lesson 6-8 today. Let's go ahead and begin our mental math. So, I want you to insert either a fraction or a whole number into the blank space for both of those inequalities to make those inequalities true. What would I put in there to make them true? What do you think? And pause that video. So, for the first one here, we have 1/3 times blank is greater than 1/3. So I'll give you a hint here. If we put anything that's going to be greater than 1 within this space, it's going to be greater than 1/3. For example, let's try 2. 1/3 times 2. Remember, whenever I have a whole number, it's always over 1 because 2 divided by 1 is still 2. 1 times 2 is 2, and 3 times 1 is 3. So 2/3 is 2/3 greater than 1/3? Yes, it is. So now our inequality statement is true. What about the next one though? The next one's just a little bit more challenging. For this one, we need to think about that 5/8. Any fraction that is less or lower than 5/8 would work. So let's try 1/3. 1/3 is less than 5/8. So let's multiply 5/8 times 1/3 and see what we get. 1 times 5 is 5. 3 times 8 is 24. Oop. So I get 5/24. That's a little bit ugly there. Let's try to fix that a little bit. There we go. That's much better. So let's compare that. 5/24 and 5/8. Is 5/24 less than 5/8? Is it? Well, let's see. What if I made this into an equivalent fraction? 5/8. Well, I would have to times 3, so do the same to the top. Oh, it means the same as 15/24. Well, is 5/24 less than 15/24? Yes, it is. So 1/3 will work. For these inequalities, just like on evaluate, just work them out and see if you can make the statement true or not. If not, you just insert a new fraction or whole number and see what you get. A lot of these types of problems are just like trial and error type of problems, is what I like to call them. So give it a shot next time. Let's go ahead and jump into our lesson today. So, given the problem here, you know that 2.4 or 2 and 4 tenths times 1 is 2 and 4 tenths. Will 2 and 4 tenths will 2 and 4 tenths be will 2 and 4 tenths times 1 and 8 tenths be greater than or less than 2 and 4 tenths? How do you know? Think of a way you can use estimation to help you decide mentally. If time permits, find the exact answer to 2 and 4 tenths times 1 and 8 tenths on your slate or on a piece of paper. I need to check to make sure we're still recording here. Yep, we're still good. I was having some issues earlier, so bear with me. I'm going to jump to that slide every once in a while. Today, what are we doing? Today, we are going to be able to estimate decimals, products, and quotients. So that would be multiply and divide. All right. So let's go ahead and take a look. We are first going to take a look here. Will 2 and 4 tenths times 1 and 8 tenths be greater than or less than 2 and 4 tenths? What did you think? Well, if I estimate this, 2.4, if I round that to 2, 1.8, if I round it up to 2, I get 4. So is it going to be greater? Yes, it is, because 4 is greater than 2.4. Okay, so today we are just rounding to the nearest whole number. Okay, especially when it comes to multiplying those decimals. Right? Let's take a look at the math journal page we are doing. Today we're looking at page 217 in your math journal. Go ahead and turn to that page right now for me. So take a look at the example that they use. What they did was they had 12. So today, really, you don't have to look at the decimal very much behind the decimal. Now here they rounded it up, okay? But that's what we're doing today. We're just going to round, okay, to the nearest whole number. So 12, that rounded to 10, and then they rounded that 1.9. That's only 1/10 away to 2 to get 20. And they found out where the decimal would go based on the exact answer. These are all the exact answers, except for if you notice, there's no decimal. We have to decide where the decimal goes. So if our estimate is 20, it makes sense that 23 decimal point 18 is where our decimal would fall. Okay, let's take a look at the next one together. So I have 17.4 times 97.5. Now, the thing about estimation, I don't want to multiply things out. I don't want to show work at all. I want to do everything mentally in my head. So I'm going to round that 17 to 20 times what's 97 close to? I'm going to round it up to 100. Maybe that's what you were thinking too. What would I get? Well, what's 2 times 1 equal? 2. What's zero? What? How many zeros do I tag on? 3. 1, 2, 3, because there's 3 zeros in my problem. So the answer should be close to 2,000. Knowing that, where would my decimal fall in the exact answer? That's right. It would be right here because I have 1,696. That's the closest to 2,000. It doesn't make sense for me to put it anywhere else. Between the 9 and the 6, no, because that's 169. That's not close to 2,000. So that's what we're doing today. Okay? Let's take a look at the next one. 83 and 12 hundredths times 7 and 25 hundredths. Well, let's multiply it. I'm going to change that 83 to 80 times 7.25. Let's just make it 7. What's 8 times 7 equal? Think about that. 56. And tag on 1, 0 because of that 0 there. So the answer has to be close to 560. So looking at the exact answer choices, where would my decimal fall if the answer has to be close to 560? That's right, between the 2 and the 6. 602 is close to 560. So that makes sense where it goes. Let's take a look at the next one. Now, the next one's a little bit different because I can't necessarily round this up to one whole. If you get a decimal that is less than one, we're going to just like round it to the nearest tenth instead. Okay, so let's take a look. What is 3? So that's zero point 0.3. Let's make it zero point 0.4 then. Let's round it to zero point 0.4 times 325. 325 is close to, let's say, 300. So what is 4 times 3? 12. Tag on 2 zeros. 1, 2. However, because of that decimal being there, we need to add one decimal point. So our decimal is going to fall right there. So really what we're looking at here is 120. So what would be the best place for our exact answer? That's right. 117 is close to 120. So our exact answer would be 117 and 18 hundredths. Are you getting the hang of this now? I want you to go ahead and do number 4 and number 5 on your own. Try number 4 and 5 on your own and pause the video. So for number 4, I would round it to 5 times, let's just keep it as zero point 0.6. What's 6 times 5 equal? 6 times 5 is 30, but because of that decimal, that means I have to put a decimal in there. So that would be 3. So our answer here would be 2.91. Again, remember, If you're given less than a you're given a decimal that's less than 1, you gotta keep that decimal in there, okay? Don't round it up to 1 whole. What about number 5? 1.8. So for this one, we are gonna round it to 2 times, let's go 30, which equals 60. Where would it fall? That's right, between the 9 and the 1. Now, division is completely different. It's kind of a different animal, really, to work with because there's a couple steps that you got to keep in mind and do first. Okay, so just watch me on this first one. So, the first thing I'm going to do, the first thing I have to do is make my dividend or my divisor, sorry, a whole number. So, if I move that over here, I would have 76. Okay, so if I do whatever I do here, I have to do here. Okay. So really what I have here is 957.6 divided by 76. Now, boys and girls, I can estimate. What can I change 957 to so that it goes in evenly into my answer here? Well, let's change the 76 to 80. So what can I change 957 to? Think about that. 957. Well, that's going to be a 0. But what can go into 95 that's close that 8 goes into? Think about it. I'm going to go with 880. And let's see what we get here. Well, 888 divided by 8 equals what? Do you know? That's 11. And then my zeros are going to cancel out. So that's going to be my answer, 11. So where would my decimal fall? Right there between the 2 and the 6 for 12.6. Now let's try the next ones together. Remember what I said, move your decimal over. So really what I'm looking at here is 653 divided by whatever I do to the divisor I got to do on the outside here. 515 5,158.7. I got to rewrite it. So let's look at this. 653. Hmm, think about that. What can I change 653 to equal? Let's just make it 700. Let's make it 700. And what about the 5,000? Well, I'm going to make these zeros. And let's think of the last two digits there. 551. What can I change that to that 7 will go into it evenly? 49 goes into it. So let's divide. What's 49 divided by 7? 7. And then my digits, my zeros, will cancel out. So where would my decimal fall? Right there. 7 and 9 tenths. Now what I want you to do is try to do numbers 8, 9, and 10 on your own. Give that a try. For this next one, let's go ahead and move our decimal over. So we would have 368 divided by, I moved it over 2, so I need to move this one over 2. 276. Let's round that up to 400. And 276, that third digit's always going to be a 0 there. So that 6 is going to be a 0. What can I change 27 to that 4 goes into it? Think about that. 28. 28. 4 goes into 28. How many times? 7. Which means what? That means I am going to divide. That means I'm going to divide this, and I get 7 here. Cross out my 0, and I'm left with 1, 0, which means that I'm going to tag that on to the end. And our answer we should get is 75. Let's double check that on my calculator. That doesn't sound right, but I'm gonna take a look see here. 2.76 divided by 3.68. Ah, we should have got 0.75. So we made a mistake there a little bit. So it should be 0.75. Make that change, 0.75. All right. So what about number 9 here? Let's take 101. I'm going to make that 102 divided by zero point 0.8 is close to 1. So what's 102 divided by 1? Well, that equals 102. So where would my decimal go? Right between the 7 and the 2. Let's take a look at our reflection today. Samuel wanted to purchase new recess balls for the entire school. He spent $78.48 on new equipment. Each ball costs $11.22. About how many recess balls did Samuel buy? Think about that. What are we going to do here to figure that out? Multiply or divide? This is Mr. Fleming. I hope you're having a fantastic day, and I can't wait to see you soon. Bye, guys.